But we're gonna be installing a Clayton 3.5-inch Overland Plus Lift Kit on my 2022 Extreme Recon Rubicon. I love lifting the Jeeps and I wanna be able to run bigger tires, get more articulation, and overall just replace some of the stock components with a lot more beefy components that we got today. Now, Clayton Off Road has been in business since 2001 and they manufacture some of the best components. I've run a lot of their kits on my past Jeeps, on my Gladiators, and on my Wranglers, and this is the chance that I get to give back to them, create an awesome video for you guys to check out, but then also get a great ride quality on my Jeep. Now, James and the whole crew over at Clayton suggested this kit for me for the tire size I'm going with, and then also just the way that I do drive. So I plan on driving a lot further and not doing that crazy heavy duty rock crawling. That's why they recommended the Overland Plus kit, which is a maintenance-free gyro joint. That means I don't need to grease this thing every month. It's completely self-sustained. It's not gonna squeak, and it's gonna make my Jeep ride stock, but a little bit better too. We paired that up with a set of Fox shocks on here, and I cannot wait to get all of this installed. We're here at Jordan's. He's a great friend of mine, and he's letting us use his shop. So he's gonna be helping out with this, and all you need is a basic set of tools. Let's get this started. This is gonna be a fun day. Time to put on a lift kit. All right, guys, first things first, taking off the wheels and tires. I know I said I really love these, but I kind of want to step it up a little bit, so I might be replacing these. They might be for sale, so if you guys know anybody interested that wants high velocity, paint matched rings, this is going to be your setup right here. And if you don't, then you don't get them. So we just loosen up the track bar, that way we can get a little bit more droop out of here. Eventually what we're going to end up doing is pulling that entire track bar out because we have a new one. But then the next thing we're going to do is replace the sway bar link. So we're not doing this on a lift today, we're doing it on the ground. We have it properly supported with jack stands. We're probably gonna see if we need to adjust the axle a little bit too, but we're just gonna go ahead and pull these sway bar links out, do this on both sides. So this is gonna be an 18 mil socket. Like I said, this isn't a full install video, but it'll be plenty enough for you guys to see the process. Got the lower shock bolts removed. We did disconnect all of our harnesses. So on the front of a Rubicon, you do have the axle locker, so you have to disconnect that harness. Obviously, when you're drooping your axle, you really just want to make sure you're not stretching. See any of these like brake lines back here, brake line, ABS, we got it disconnected up here, and we're just making sure that the tension's not there. So clear on this. This one disconnected. We could disconnect the front axle breather, but we're not going to. We'll see how that plays out. This is one thing I wanted to address, these giant bump stops on the Extreme Recon. So I don't even think we're gonna need to add the bump stop extension on here. I'm gonna play with it a little bit, but I don't even think we'll need to add it because these are honestly like 3.5 inch, 4 inches bigger than the standard Jeep, so we shouldn't have to play with that at all. I can pull this coil out a while. I'm gonna do that right now. And then, guys, what we're gonna do too, you're gonna keep these isolators. Oh, that's nice. They don't pop off. So we're just gonna leave that on. Those will still go on with the new springs then too. That's pretty close. Wobble-wee.
Uninstalled.
Great job, Jordan. Excellent work. Highest bidder, if you guys want an Extreme Recon suspension used by yours truly for 6,000 miles, here it is. Here you go, I got this for you. It's like the same size. Look at the length of the shock body though. I'd imagine, without taking this off, that shock body probably goes like right to here. I can look in and see it. That's not that much travel. That's literally it's not that, I mean, look how big that shock body is. It's almost like limited the travel unless it can extend more, but it seems stopped at this point. That's why we're replacing it with Fox shocks. We like to have fun while you're doing a lift kit. So Jordan can attest, it's what time is it? Like 2 in the afternoon? It's almost like beer o'clock. But a long time ago, Jordan and I installed a ceiling fan after too many adult slushies, and I'm surprised the ceiling fan still works. So don't do that during a really hard lift kit install. This isn't terribly hard, but I don't know. You gotta know your limit. The one thing, like we do have the extended sway bar links on the Extreme Recon, but a little trick. So a 6mm Allen key socket goes inside of the bolt stud, and then you can remove it. So you're gonna wanna put that to the on function, tightening it, and then on here, this is gonna be loosening it. But if I just do this, you guys can see. So you see that the whole thing is spinning. Now, if you put this Allen key in here, these can be really fun if your Jeep's a little bit older. If I put that in here, now I can loosen it and hold it on the other side. Luckily, the new Clayton Off Road sway bar links aren't like this. Just a little bit of a pain in the butt for the stock ones. So I'll show you a little bit of this. There you go. You can see the Allen key thread there, so the whole thing will spin. We're gonna put that back on. We're gonna set it aside. I like to keep all my stock parts too, so we're gonna keep all of them together. Then maybe we'll do a giveaway on the channel if someone wants an Extreme Recon kit for their like stock sport, because it will bump it up a little bit. So we're gonna set all these aside, and then we'll see what we wanna do with them. Let me know in the comments what you want me to do. drop a comment below. For every like, we will put one Dirt Road CRED decal on Jordan's wall. 7,000 likes. Oh, all right, guys, so we've got a lot removed from the Jeep. We got both of the shocks, the sway bar links, and also those front coils. So the front end's moving along pretty well. Now the next step, Jordan's actually behind me. What I like to do on these, and I think it's a good idea, especially if you live in a climate that rusts pretty well in the wintertime, we're gonna put a little anti-seize onto our heim joints. Now we've unthreaded them pretty much all the way, and then we're gonna thread them all the way in. So make sure that anti-seize really hits any of the nuts and the grooves in there. That way it does not seize up if we ever need to pull this apart in the future. Now the next thing we're gonna do while we have all these on the table is we are gonna go through, check out the lift size that we have and measure all of these out. So if you see here, it says front lower control arms. We're gonna go over to the 4-door 3.5-inch lift and see that it's 24.5 inches. So we can get these as a good baseline template here sitting on the table, getting them all ready to be put into the Jeep. Now, like I said, these are baseline, and from what I've seen and used, these work extremely well. But at the end of this, you're still gonna wanna get a professional alignment to make sure all your caster camber, all your driveline angles look good. But this is a good starting point. Very nice that Clayton has that. Jordan does a lot of metal welding, a lot of fabrication, and you can see, I mean, just by looking around the shop, he's got a plasma cam, he's got the computer, everything set up for it. A lot of metal work is done in here. So he said the welds look great on these, plus just the beefiness of these front lower control arms. I mean, they're stout. They're very, very stout. They're square tubing. You can see they've got a bump out too for some tire clearance when you're at full flex, but these are very, very well built. They've got those built-in bushings that are maintenance free, and then these are the same right up here. Then these absolutely massive jam nuts. So all this is gonna be very, very beefy underneath the Jeep. And if you're going with something, you might as well buy quality because your family's gonna be riding in this rig with you. It's not just a full-time dedicated off-road rig, unless it is to you, but a lot of the time you're gonna be driving on the road to a lot of it. So a lot of the time you'll be on the road too. So make sure you're getting some quality components, and we have that too with Clayton. I trust this stuff, and thanks Jordan for turning into the Tin Man.
Added bonus. Never
you're getting it all over it.
Excellent on the black.
All right guys, so what we're doing is we're popping out the upper control arm bolts, and we're getting the new control arms in. They say to do it side by side, so, okay. Those aren't really holding us up too much. It's just a lot of tension under here, guys. Guys, I don't know if it's just on the 2-liter or if it's on the 3.6 also. There's some sort of, honestly, I don't know what it is. But it is preventing the bolt from coming out, and I'm not too happy with it right now. Yeah, so definitely buy a Bronco because
it's basically a Jeep.
It's, yeah, independent suspension is great. Here is this, I believe it looks like a small like transmission coolant pump or some sort of coolant pump into the, it goes into all these lines. But what was happening is this bolt, to be able to pull it out, the back of it or the head of it was hitting this. So I had to remove two 13 mils. There's a stud there. There's also one laying under the Jeep too. And then there's a bolt that goes into the housing right here. So I had to pull it off just so I could bend it back enough to pull it out. And Jordan's actually out there. He's measuring the driver's side upper control arm. That way I don't have to step out and redo that. So we're gonna get that put onto here, and then we should be good to go. All right guys, so these are the front bump stops. We would be installing these now before we go ahead and put the springs in, but since the Extreme Recon does have such large bump stops on there, we're not gonna put these right now onto here. Now, the reason being is because I think it'll be just fine like this. If in the future we ever decide to throw these on, we will keep the box and we'll be able to throw those on. But I also wanna check out the rear because we have rear bump stop extensions. Right now, it is time to put our springs in. Then we can put our shocks, then our sway bar links, and I'm gonna wait until the end to put our track bar in because I think it'll be a lot easier once we have the weight of the vehicle onto it to really align it and get it on. But putting parts on, we've got a lot parts pulled off the table, so let's go install some more. One nice thing about having the square control arms, they made them the right size for your ABS and brake line retention bracket. So you just kind of have to push that on, and then there is a bolt that comes with it, and it's already pre-threaded. So just make sure you line up the threads. And it'll go right back in. Just like that. So very nice and clean, and a good way to make sure that that doesn't get bound up anywhere. We're gonna be cutting our sway bar end links. Now they do send a universal length here that you have to cut. If you don't have the right tools, this might be a little bit tricky, but Jordan fortunately has pretty much every one of the right tools. So we need to cut 2.5 inches off each side for this size of a lift kit. So we're gonna cut 2.5 inches off for the front sway bar links, and then we can assemble them and get them on. Did that just cut that quick? Yeah. I'm actually a little bit Impressed. Hello. Hey, I was gonna say it, but fortunately, we keep this channel very PG. Well guys, we are wrapping up the front end here. Now this has been a pretty good time on the front. The only real dilemma we had is we actually snapped off the axle breather cap by spinning one of the wig nuts on that side. So be careful, you guys are spinning that pretty fast, it'll snap it right off. So that'll be a problem for a future video and we don't really need to worry about it right now. It's been a really nice install though. So we followed the instructions to a T. We did each side's control arms individually. Had not too much of a problem once we figured out we could shift the axle pretty well. And honestly, we're doing this all on jack and jack stands. And it took us probably 2 or 3 hours to do the front end. And we had a little bit of dilemma just doing the extra anti-seize, doing some things like that. But it's all worked really well. We got the shocks torqued down, the sway bar links are torqued down. We're gonna put the wheels and tires back on here. All we have to do once that is on is we're gonna go through and then torque all of our control arms and tighten all the jam nuts. It is very, very important that you put the weight of the vehicle on there and then tighten all that down. So that's gonna be wrapped up here shortly. We're gonna jack this up a little bit higher, put the wheels and tires on, see how it looks. All right guys, here it is, rear suspension. It is time to get to work. Control arms are going. These are going. I think we'll be okay with, once again, with these bump stop extensions. We got the same style extension here. Sway bar links, shocks need to come off. So let's get started. Same process as the front. We're gonna start pulling things off and go from there. Shock removed. More room for activities under here. Hey guys, time for the sway bar links to come off. We've got the shocks removed from both sides. Same thing, 6mm Allen key and an 18. Make quick work of these. Sway bar links are off. You can see these are a bit extended from the standard ones though. And they look like to be some sort of coating. What do you think, they're zinc coated, Jordan?
The yellow?
No, this. It's not, it's like chrome. You know what they say, chrome won't get you home. We have drooped down the axle and we can pull out the coil springs from the rear. Now, as you just saw, the isolator popped out with it, but these can be set aside. There's a little tidbit of the part number too, so you guys are wondering what the Extreme Recon spring part number. So make sure to reuse those rubber isolators. We're gonna go grab them. And I think now that we have this drooped out, the one thing you wanna watch when you're drooping this out is how low your emergency brake cables go. You can disconnect them, but it takes a little bit to do so. So we are currently just, we're just gonna get it done. Actually, while we're filming this, it's a Sunday, so we had some comments being dropped. One of them that was just asked, will a lift kit void your warranty? Now that's an interesting comment, and it's something obviously that's been fielded a lot. In order for the lift kit to actually void your warranty, your dealership has to prove that the lift kit caused a direct failure to that component. So if your radio goes out of the inside, if your seat stops working, if something goes wrong with your driveline, they have to directly prove that the lift kit caused that in order to void it or even say that it's not under warranty. I would definitely field around on Jeep Wrangler forums to figure out which place around you gives the best warranty service, because some dealers absolutely hate lifted Jeeps, and then other dealerships will work with them and have no problem with it. So definitely check around, and I would say don't play this game and go to one that's gonna void your warranty, because if they do in fact void it completely, it's done. So if they actually go on, I remember one of the bigger YouTubers, I believe it was Eddie from Way of Life, he actually went in and his got completely voided. And once it's completely voided, there's nothing even corporate can do. It's pretty rough. So definitely make sure that the lift kit component didn't directly cause it. And it's honestly, it's hard for them to say that it did. It's really hard to say that that component directly caused the failure, unless like your control arm from your aftermarket lift kit failed. Then it's kind of like no duh, but they really have to prove it. So make them prove it and don't just give up on it right away. But good question, I appreciate that. So typically what you would do is get like,
Wow.
I hate, that's the worst noise ever. I literally, that's like top 10 like worst noises. Fox shocks for straight performance. Actually guys, I really do like the Fox shocks. I mean, there's a reason, like I said, there's a reason they put them under the stock 392s, and it's because it's a good shock. All right guys, so we're in the last steps here. I just have to put the rear track bar on, get a couple things torqued down, and that's it. So it's the last steps, it's getting late, it's a Sunday night here. So what we need to do, we're gonna get everything on. I'm gonna align the steering wheel quick just for the ride home. All you have to do is adjust the jam nut on the drag link just to align that. And then I'm gonna drop it off at a local off-road shop and get it aligned. That's the best bet after you do a lift kit, just to make sure everything is dialed in the right way, and they can kind of double check it all too. They have a lot more high-tech machinery than what I do, so I'm gonna let them do it, especially when you replace all 8 control arms. So I wanna make sure everything is dialed in and this thing is driving really well. Well guys, it is a few days later, but what we've got going on today, the Jeep is behind me. I had it professionally aligned and it is driving absolutely awesome. It reduced a ton of the body roll. I go over a lot of the bumps that I'm used to going through, and this has just absolutely performed way better than that stock Extreme Recon suspension. The installation went super smooth. I would say if you're doing this on the garage floor, you can do it in about 6 to 7 hours. I wouldn't say it would take any more time than that. And we were just using basic hand tools, a little bit of impacts on there, but just some jacks and jack stands. So no lift, you can do this easily in your garage. Overall though guys, I am absolutely thrilled with the ride quality of this. I ran it on my Gladiator with a Clayton Off Road suspension. I love the way that was, and I had over 20,000 miles on it. But this is a cool way, and you guys can see the height on this has definitely increased. I now have a lot more room to run some 37s, maybe even some 40s on here. But don't worry, this is part 1 of a 3-part. We're gonna be doing on-road and off-road testing, but what I wanted to make sure is that we had this on for a few days. I wanna put some miles on it before I give the full review of exactly how it feels for me. And then that'll also let me know if I need to replace steering components, stabilizers, whatever else I need to put onto this Jeep. Huge shout out to James and the entire crew at Clayton Off Road. They really hooked it up. They even gave me a hoodie because it's really cold out here in PA, and I just cannot say more positive things about them. If you guys are watching this video, stay tuned for more. They're running some crazy good deals throughout the rest of the winter, and I can't wait to work with them here in the future. Now, until next time, my name is Matt with Dirt Road CRED. Get out there and earn yours.